Hey guys, how's everything going? This is JSer. This video is about Relay, and in the previous videos we've managed to create a web app that supports creation, like here add and modify, and then delete. Everything works so far so good, and the only one piece that we have missed is the pagination, right? So the original TODO MVC, this web app doesn't require any pagination, but to illustrate what this the common case for most of the web applications, we here implement some raw pagination feature. So in this, particularly in our app, we would show 2 items each at a time, and then if there's more items, we should load more. Actually, it's not very difficult to implement it in a REST API, right? We just keep track. We just add the has next a field in our response and show the load more data. And when you click it, we just fetch more, right? Just to use the cursor base, and yeah, that's pretty much of it. And actually, Relay has to make things easier. Well, actually, Relay is complex, and it has standardized how we should implement the pagination. Let's take a look. So in a GraphQL, there's a chapter called the pagination. Yeah. It has a very clear explanation. I hope you can take a look. Let's just scan through it. So the basic pagination is basically these plurals. We've already used it. This just is a list, right? Like the two we're currently doing now is holding all the nodes in the in array. And also we slicing. We obviously need to set the parameters like first two, like the first 2 items, and also we need to set the offset, right, or after, and for an ID or friend cursor. So in general, we found that cursor-based pagination is the most powerful. Blah blah blah. Actually, it is the same as it's pretty similar to what we are doing every day. And it just standardize it to make it able to handle all the cases. So here is the query with friends first 2, and it has edges. For each edges has a node pointing to the real node. Each node might have an ID, and these edges might have a cursor. It must have a cursor, yeah. And you might wonder why the cursor is not just used node ID. Well, this ID is just the opaque ID. I mean, the Relay doesn't care about what it is. It just get from the GraphQL and send to the GraphQL again. So the ID could be anything. So if you use node ID, what if there are different kinds of nodes, right? In the edges, like the node is a user and then node is TODO. If you all use a node ID, if you pass a cursor ID to you, you might not know what you want. You might not know what it is, right? So for general purpose, this cursor is some string that helps you to target your real items like data in your data store. That could be anything. Like you can even store some queries, of course, encoded, like say sort, filter something, and to get the node. So this is the cursor. It's not the ID itself. You can get the cursor. When you pass the cursor, you just extract the information from the cursor, and then just fetch another bunch of chunk of data according to the parameters. So this cursor is at your use. And also, other than edges, we need to know whether we have the next page, right? It has more items and the end cursor. Well, this is just a abstract layer of GraphQL. The real implementation depends on your backend infrastructure. You can implement whatever you want. Complete connection model. Yeah. So this is the final version. Like friends, we get not friends anymore. We get friends connection. And then you had a total count. And then edges. Edges has a cursor. Edges is an array of nodes with a cursor. And page info is like this. Okay, so let's see what the cursor is in this particular example. We'll just decode it. You can see that it's cursor 2. So yeah, you can use any cursor. It might not be the node ID. Let's say the ID. It says it's 112, right? Yeah. And page info and cursor. So this is on GraphQL. And actually in the relay homepage, there's a standardized spec. Okay, there are some key points here. A connection type, fields, edges, page info, introspection. An edge, yeah, edge will have the node and cursor. A node, it must be, cursor. Whatever this field will return the cursor type, introspection. Argument, pagination, first, after, backward, edge order, pagination algorithms. You can see what it is. What? Determine what edges to return. The connection evaluates the before and after cursor to filter the edges, and then evaluate the first. Let edges to be a result of calling apply cursor. Let first to be. If last is set, return edges. Wow, this is the spec. Nothing so fancy. Oh, so let's try to implement it. Well, it's pretty challenging. Okay, let's go. Let's take a look at the here. So before we just use friends to hold the node, actually, we need to now wrap it in edges and page info, right? Great, let's try. We're handling in the nodes, I guess. In a GraphQL user here, we get to-dos. To-do here is a GraphQL list. Obviously, we now needs to be a connection, right? So I've already prepared a cheat sheet. You can see that here. In a GraphQL, well, this depends on your backend infrastructure. So in this demo, we're using okay, the relay has offered us this this one GraphQL relay, and it's a helper method. We just use it. So connection is to do connection edge type. We get these two from the connection definitions helper. The name is to do. Node type is GraphQL to do. I guess it is GraphQL to do. Yeah. Why there's an error? Okay, it's not defined yet. Okay, let's put it on the here. So now we have a connection type. This is just a type definition. And now, rather than using the here GraphQL list, we now could just say the to-dos is what? It's a connection, right? Because in our example here, it says to-dos. Okay, friends. Oh, wait a minute here. We have friends connection. Okay. To-dos. Let's add a new one. Okay. Let's add a new one to make it better. To-dos connection. To-dos connection. Yeah. Now we are to-dos connection. Put it here. And this connection needs to be able to be queried, right? With the first, with the last parameters. So let's define the args. It's connection args here. So args, we use the connection args, including the before, blah, blah, blah. When we resolve, this is the args. And to do, it's not to do's anymore. We need to transform it into the connection. There is a U2 function here, connection from array. Here, where were we? This. And args. Let's update our schema. Okay. Now let's go to our browser to see what it is. Okay, now This is the, okay, let's just rewrite it. So now we have this to do connection field. It actually accepts some parameters, you see, after, first, before, last. Okay, that's just the first two. And now it has edges and node, right? And node, we can get the ID, title is complete. And also beside node, we have this cursor. Let's query it. Oh, great. You can see that this to do, the cursor here. Let's see what the cursor is. Okay, we clear the message A to B. Array connection, so it defines a different cursor, even though our ID is here. Okay, no problem. To do one is, if we query the first one, it should be the 0, yeah, right? If we after this cursor get one, like say get the next one, after, we would get the first, the second one, I guess. Yeah, great. So this is how our graphical connection for our GraphQL endpoint works. Now let's hook up with the UI part. Now we have to-dos connection here now. In our app, we are querying for the to-dos right here. The to-dos is in the to-dos. We are getting the here to-dos. It's not to-dos anymore. We get the to-dos connection, and then we get the node, edges, and then node, get ID, and the other things will be kept the same. Will this work? Okay, data now is not to-dos anymore. It's to-dos connection. It's to-dos connection. To-do. Edges. Let's just cache the edges. Data, to-dos connection, edges. These edges, we map the to-do. To-do. The to-do actually is the node, right? So we get node as the to-do. So now it should work, I guess. Let's update the relay. Oh, great, it's working. Let's see our relay store. You can have user to this connection. It's now it's a connection. It's at edges, and then holds the array. Pretty good. So let's see if we can add. Oh, we cannot. The error here, right? We got error, even though it should be added. But we have problems updating the UI. I had invalid attempt to spread non-iterator instance, simple iterator. I think it happens in add to the mutation here. The add to the mutation, we return a to-do, and we try to insert it into to-dos, right? But there's no to-dos anymore. It's to-dos connection, and we need to return an edge. So, GraphQL, let's try to add some add mutation. Yeah, this is no good. We need to return an edge. In our nodes here, actually we see that here, edge type, actually GraphQL to do edge, we can just reuse it. So in our add to do mutation output, it's to do, it's not to do anymore. We put it into to do edge. Type is GraphQL edge. Resolve, we get the to do, right? So we need to get the cursor and the node. So this is the to do. We wrap it into a node this to do, but we need the cursor. This is a helper function called Oh, where is it? Connection from array, no. Global ID, no. Mutation, no. Well, from the cursor, this array connection, right? Maybe we can try it by ourselves. Okay, so array connection, I guess. Array connection 0, so we could just array connection with the ID index. There's a helper function, but I forgot. But anyway, here, let's do it. Array connection plus to do. This is just for mock, okay? To-dos index of node. Yeah. And then to-do edge. Let's try it in our GraphQL. Cannot create to-do. Oh, of course, we now have edge. And then this is node. Yeah, you know, we can get the ID. Also, we can get the cursor, I guess. We need to encode it. So, okay. Cannot call. Oh, not this. It should be this. B2A. B2A is not defined. There's no B2A? Oh, okay. I'm stuck. I need to find the helper function. Okay, I found it. It's cursor for object in connection, so we can use that helper here directly at to-do mutation. We just, okay, cursor for the to-dos is the array, and then we get passing this node. Okay. Let's see what it is. Okay, now we have this nice cursor. Great. And then in our UI part, we have this add to the mutation. We get this now. We get the to-do edge, right? We get to-do edge, and we get the node, and then we fetch the ID is complete. Blah blah blah. So we need to insert this edge to the edges. So we can do this as before. We get the add to do, get the link to record, to do. It's not to do anymore. It's to do edge. So this is the edge, and user record is this, and then to do's connection is user record to get linked records. It's not array anymore. I guess it should be get records to do's. Connection. For debug, we window store the store, and then we need to set the user score, user record, set the link to record to the edges. We need to get the to this connection, which is okay. We the edge, we get the edge, and then spread with get it should actually get the record. So we need to, it's not a value, so we get a link to record edges. I guess it should work with to-do's connection. Let's see. No. To-do mutation got errors. Oh, we need to forgot to update relay. There's an error. No field to-do edge. To-do payload does not have to-do edge. In our GraphQL, this is payload, there's to-do. Oh, we need to update the schema. And then update the relay. Great. Let's try it again. I'll handle get link to record expect There's some error here, but anyway, we get the store. We get the store, get a JSer1, and then we could get the linked record of to-dos connection. Yeah, it's there. And then we get linked record of edges. Oh, this is maybe linked to records. Link to record. Oh, yeah, okay. So it's linked records, I guess. It's there, but it's not reflected. I don't know. Oh, it's not user record, I guess. It's connection to set the edges. Shit. It's set link to records. Okay, this might be good. Great. Now we can safely we can just insert it, right? Great. And also delete. There's some error here. Before we handle this delete problem, we have some helper method here. I've already prepared the cheat sheet. Actually, Relay has a connection handler to allow us to easier to modify the connection. So we first use this connection handler. Connection handler, where got it? It should be right here, right? Yeah, it is. Connection handler. We get connection is user record. Oh, user is here, and then we get the to-dos connection. Oh no, it's not the field. It should be connection key. We need to get the key in to-dos, I guess. Here, we need to tag it with the connection name, connection with to-dos to do. I guess. Expect name. It's like this. So what it is? Connection key. Okay, it's connection key. Okay, and then in our add to do mutation here, we could get the to-dos with the key. From user record, we get the connection from user to-dos. Okay, added to-dos. And now connection add and insert edge after this connection with new edge, which is this edge. So we can remove all the rest to make it slightly easier. Let's run the relay. To-dos connection have to have a first or last argument. Okay, we first. Oh yeah, for these to-do connections, we need to. Just the first two. Okay, first two. We will make it dynamic in the future. Some more errors to be formed. Connections to be some name to-dos connection. Okay, to-dos connection. Okay, let's update it. No errors. Let's try. Hope it works. Now you see that we only show 2, even though we add more. Now we add more. Okay, we successfully create new ones. There's something wrong here. What happened? Let's see our relay store. Got to do. Okay, title is empty. That's interesting. Let's try to fetch it again. This first 2. Title should not be empty, right? Oh, title is empty. Okay, let's remove it. Remove it again. Okay, so the problem is, Oh, I tapped the enter key too fast, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, it's okay. Now, the delete problem got error. Actually, I think we've met this error before. It's actually because the edge is deleted, right? So the edge node is empty now. So we need to filter out the okay, we need to filter out the empty node. So filter edge.node. There must be a node. And then we can safely remove it. Yeah, perfect. So now we've managed to use collections to fetch our to-dos, right? We only get two at a time. Now I need to show a load more button in our to-dos here. It should be here. We'll put it in the li. Actually, pagination is much more complicated. We actually need to use Pagination Fragment. Okay, I forgot the name. It should be use Pagination Fragment. And here we got the data and load next and has next. And we get the has next. If has next, we got a button. On click, we load more, load next too. Of course, there will be errors now. We haven't fixed it yet. Let's see what happens. Okay, we got an error. It says use pagination is not defined. Oh. And also, we update the relay. No error? Interesting. I thought there would be a lot of error. There's a lot of errors. It says, again, accept fragments to be refreshable. Okay, we will come back to refreshable in the future for some other cases. But now you need to know that because this node is in the fragment, right? It's not a query, so it cannot query itself. It's fragment. And we must make it refreshable by creating a new query with the help of this refreshable directive. So let's create it. So now relay knows that this piece of data could be refreshable by this new query. Let's give it a name. It says to-dos. What name? Pagination query. To-dos pagination query. Great. Now it has it has this refreshable, but it's still error there. It says invalid use of refreshable on fragment user. Okay, we got this one. It's on user. The node interface types implement node interface or viewer or query. What is viewer? I don't know. So the problem is that the relay actually for pagination requires the node that the refreshable queries fragment is on, like here, the user. The user must implement the wait a minute, this one must implement the node interface. It means that the GraphQL endpoint must implement a node field, which could be used to query an object purely by its ID, because in relay, everything that the ID should be globally unique. So we need to implement it. That's why, because I'm thinking that because this fragment is cannot live by itself, it must live on something unique that it could be queried on, right? We cannot just afford query the whole query on user. We just need to, implement this kind of an endpoint that give an ID returns the object. So that's it. So I don't know the details why relay it requires this, but let's just implement it. Okay, by mean node interface here, it means that the GraphQL user needs to implement the node interface. I've already prepared the cheat sheet here. So for the node interface here, we just use this. Okay, before we put the user query users here, user mock users in here, let's just put into nodes to make it easier. Okay, nodes, mock, this mock to-dos, and now we have mock users, and we export this fetch user, and this we need to type in, right? I don't know, promise any, and we import this fetch user from nodes. Okay, and then to get user, we could just use fetch user. And then, as I said, let's create this node interface, node field. We log the fetch node global ID. If it is JSer, then we return the user. If not, we get the to-dos, right? Okay, and then for the type, if the ID is JSer, it should be a user. If not, it should be a to-do. So this is node interface. Let's add it to the user type. It should be in the interfaces. Now the user implements this node interface, and also we need to export the node field. And then in the index, we export this node field to node. So let's update the schema to see what has changed. In the schema, we have this user, and the user implements node. For node, it just has ID, and in our root query, we have the node. No, not this one. Query. Where's the query? Query here, node. We get an ID. We return the node. So the to-do could implement this node, and this node could be anything, right? So this is a very like omni search for the nodes. Now let's see, update the relay again. It says must use variables for the after and the first. Yeah. Okay, we cannot. Okay, we here. Because we want to pagination, we cannot just every time call the first two, right? The after defaults to 0, so it will give us the same parameters every time. Okay, now let's say it to first, and after we make it after. And this variable should be set on the query, right? Pass in from the query, and this connect fragment itself would connect be passed with the right pagination information from this node next. We don't need to care about it, so it will be right passing. But for the initial time, we need to get the first, right? We need to get the first. So it should be passed in the query, as we said. Only query could query the data. Now it's in the here. The parameters here are global, so let's say the first, it should be the first is integer, I guess, number. What is it? Integer. First is GraphQL. First is number. GraphQL type. Okay, let's see the type. Type. String, character, it's a number, integer, int. Okay, it's int, I guess. It should not be empty. And also this is it, I guess. And then when we pass the query, we get the ID, and also we get the first two. And then we need to make the two global, right? After. Oh, this needs to be after define, but we don't pass it. After it should be cursor. What is cursor type? Cursor? I don't know. The string? Let's just put it in string. I'm not sure. Oh, it works. Okay, there's an error says something. Error happens here. This is because of the demo. I think I need to try this. Great, now it works. Now let's reload. 2. There's only 2, right, I guess. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, add 6 to-dos, and now there should be a load more button. Click it. 2 seconds later. Ooh, yeah, finally, we got it working. 1. Hello world, no more. So perfect. In our relay store, let's see the difference between each steps in our relay store. Okay, now we have this connection first. Where they hold the page info, I don't know. This one? Maybe. This is a connection. User. This is TODO connection. TODO connections, ref, page info, ref. Yeah, maybe this. And then we have the edges. When we click it, it will. Okay, it actually has 2 to-dos connection, and then they are grouped together. Oh yeah, actually this is the right one. Let's click it. Yeah, did I increment it here? Okay, so it's like the store actually holds different chunks, and then like a user computed something to generate the final chunk of data for UI to render. So this is it. So this is our pagination, and it's super. I think it's super complicated, and but the best thing about Relay is that it actually standardized this concept, right? The connection, the edges, the node stuff, and we can just trust him and just follow. It's a best practice, and that's it. Hope it helps. This is a long one, and that's all for pagination. But there are still more concepts to be covered, like the optimistic updating, and what is it? It's like a refreshing data, and use cache data stuff. We'll cover it more just based on these TODO apps. Okay, from now, this TODO app is no longer the same as the TODO MVC. It's much more complicated now. And yeah, hope it helps. See you next time. Bye-bye.